I love thrift stores and antique shops and finding amazing little gems, but sometimes I need a little bit of inspiration to get creative with those pieces. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing 5 different ways you can get creative with your next upcycle. Done right, spray paint can be an amazing way to give something a little love and an entirely new look, even if you're using 2 completely different items. Just start off making sure that you're giving your piece a nice clean, get rid of any excess that you don't want on the item, and sand it down. This is just going to help prep the piece so your spray paint sticks better. Then grab you a color you're in love with right now or something that just matches your home decor and give it a nice coat. For my ASMR lovers, I got your back. Make sure you use some E6000 or Gorilla Glue gel to attach the 2 pieces together, and look how high-end and stunning this is. You could use this beautiful piece for so many different things in your home, but today I'm just decorating it with some florals and a little cracked glass candle holder. Keep in mind, if you do want to spray paint some wood, it might be a good idea to grab you a primer and give your wood a nice primed coat. This is going to help protect any bleed through popping through your paint color, especially if you're using a light color paint. Sometimes you'll have yellow stains. To avoid that, this primer is always a good idea. Once it's completely dry, pick your spray paint color and give your piece a nice coat, and reapply that coat as many times as you feel is necessary. People, even if you see a piece that has words written on them, pick it up. Spray paint can be such an easy way to transform something. Now, if it is wood, I always recommend putting a primer on there just to ensure that if any of that bleed through or tannus is popping out, you're not going to have any of those issues. But the same rule applies. You cover over your piece, even the section with the words, you grab your favorite spray paints and you give it a nice coat. Now, sometimes if it does have words, it could take me 3 to 4 coats for good solid coverage with a light color. And don't forget, you might need to sand it down just to be on the safe side prior to applying your spray paint. If you want to seal over anything that you're spray painting, I would recommend letting the initial coat of paint rest for 24 hours before applying your sealer. And make sure that if you plan on putting it outside, the directions on the spray paint sealer that you're using say that it will work for outdoors. And if you're wondering how many layers the sealer, anytime I seal over anything, it really depends on if it's going to be a highly used piece. If you're going to use it a lot, I would recommend doing more than 1 coat. If you ever find yourself looking at a piece you're unsure what to do with, sometimes you might just need to add a piece of wood. I had this wonky looking piece from a small dresser I had. People were saying it looked like malevolent ears, and I wanted to do something with it. I didn't want to get rid of it, so I went to Home Depot and I grabbed a piece of wood. This is a 1x8, I'm pretty sure, and I just cut it down to size to fit on top of this piece. And my friends, if you don't have a miter saw or a miter box, please don't worry. Usually Home Depot and Lowe's has cutting stations that you're able to cut things down yourself if you would like in the store, or they will cut it down for you. So if you are scared of using tools, someone else is there to help you. Now with this piece in particular, it needed some love. It had seen better days. You might have a piece that won't need all of this attention. Okay, it was a needy little thing. But if you do, don't worry, it's just gonna take a little bit of patience. Grab you some wood glue and just start smushing that stuff in between every little crevice that you can. Grab some clamps. A great place to get really inexpensive clamps is Harbor Freight and Tools. If you're not familiar with that store, you can usually pop one in there and get really inexpensive clamps. Once everything is dry, pick your paints. For this piece in particular, I wanted to give it a nice solid black undertone because I was going to distress it. And doing a spray paint base, it's pretty quick and easy as opposed to painting the piece. So I did that for a quick, because everything else was taking me a long time on this. But in the event that you ever wonder if you can paint over spray paint, watch me do it, people. Watch me do it. And then not only do I spray paint over it, paint over it, I then come in and do a whitewash and kind of pull back that paint. The shelf turned out absolutely beautiful. So next time you don't know what to do with some wonky piece sitting around in your hoard stash, because I know most of you watching this video probably got some, turn it into a shelf, add some wood, create something amazing. There's stenciling, which I absolutely love, and then there's raised stenciling, giving something a nice 3D pop. Now, I wanted to share with you how you can take one entire piece and literally give the whole thing a raised stencil appearance to create a piece of art out of the whole thrifted piece instead of just a small section, and it will turn out just fine. Usually for pieces like this, you might want to grab a large stencil, but sometimes it's hard to find large stencil designs you love, and then you're kind of stuck doing piece work with a smaller stencil. An easy way to create this effect is just to take a little bit of paint that you like with some spackling or joint compound and mix the two. There are so many different ways to create textures. And another medium that I love that I share often is Tim Holtz texture paste. I usually keep a link down for that in my description box, but you can absolutely take a little bit of joint compound or spackling, mix it with some paint, just like I did here, and pull back your stencil. And it covers the whole piece. So your thrifted find now has its own unique look with just adding a 3D raised stencil. Add whatever extra accents you would like, and you're all done. Decoupage is absolutely one of my favorite ways to transform and upcycle anything. I found this awesome cabinet door for just $5 at a local consignment shop. And for this piece, I wanted to get a little Christmassy, so I grabbed some of TDS Decoupage tissue paper, and I grabbed one of the TDS Decoupage rice paper designs. So the tissue paper is a little bit larger and the rice paper is A4 in size, and the materials are a little bit different. But whenever you're going to decoupage things, you don't just have to use tissue paper or rice paper. You could use napkins, regular paper. There are so many things. Cardstock. I have decoupaged with so many things, even fabric. Use the idea and use different types of items to create unique pieces that you want to resell or that you want to keep for your home decor or even give as gifts. I use the iron-on method for this piece. It is a great way to reduce wrinkles, and mixing the two different patterns on the paper just came out absolutely gorgeous. I think my favorite thing about decoupage is that you can find the most misshaped things and never know exactly what you're going to use it for, but you're going to grab it because it's like 50 cents and you need to hoard that in your stash. and then you'll come up with an idea later on down the road to be able to create something and add a little bit of decoupage into the piece. I got really inspired with Mackenzie Child style, and I turned these 50-cent little wood pieces I picked up from a local store into some gorgeous pumpkins. I took some of my TDS Decoupage paper and I cut out 2 different designs for 2 of the pumpkins. This way I could put the paper on there, giving it a unique design to different pumpkins. I added paint on top using some stencils. You can absolutely paint over papers and decoupage, tissue paper and rice paper and napkins to add even more flair to a paper that you're putting on top of something. I finished these little pieces off by adding some gold kitchen knobs I painted onto the top as stems, and love how this turned out. And yes, people, pick up the metal buckets, pick up the plastic, pick up the glass. You can decoupage them too. A great idea is to just start with the base. Use some paint that will stick to those surfaces. Check the directions because each paint has different directions according to what they will stick to, and then grab whatever you want. For these little pieces, I picked a napkin out of my stash. I peeled off the top decorative layer because that's all we're going to use to decoupage onto here. Grabbed my medium, and then I just started applying the section of the napkin I wanted down onto this piece. And keep in mind, depending on where your decoupage piece is going to end up is going to depend on how you seal that. If you're going to keep it outside, make sure your sealer is going to be able to withstand that. And if you're going to keep it inside and it's a heavily used surface, keep that in mind as well, because the more traffic, the more it will get wore down. I love how beautiful these are sitting outside. The colors are absolutely beautiful. If you want to add a little oomph into anything you're upcycling, create some texture to add to it. And people, I'm here to tell you, you can do that and remix that so many different ways. One of my favorites is just simply taking some chalk paint and adding a little bit of baking soda. Another is taking some calcium carbonate and mixing it with some chalk paint. And I say chalk paint because chalk paint is already thick on its own. And depending on how you apply it, like if you stipple a chalk paint, it will give you a little bit of a textured appearance. So adding calcium carbonate in with chalk paint on its own, or baking soda in with some chalk paint on its own, they're going to give you individual looks. And then if you bind them, they'll give even more texture. I even like to grab this spackling here. It is super lightweight, super easy to mix, and it's inexpensive from Walmart. This is an easy way to add extra texture. If you can see here, it's kind of buttery smooth. Just mixing it with a little bit of that chalk paint, it gives an amazing appearance. A homemade mixture is to take a little bit of tacky glue, some water, and then mix in some of your calcium carbonate and your baking soda, stir all together. And for this idea, you could also switch out the glue. You could use Elmer's. I use that all the time, and this will usually keep for a couple days in a very well sealed container. You could add a little bit of water to it if you notice it starts to harden up, but it is a nice little texture piece. I primarily use this idea when creating my own 3D stencils. This mixture in particular tends to be slightly thicker with the way that I mix it, so the stencils turn out really beautiful and really clean. People, and in case you're about to ask me in the comments, Brandy, how much of what? No, I don't mix with measurements. I mix with love, okay? I just mix those things together until I'm happy with the consistency. I'm sorry. That's all I have for you. That's all I got. And for a little technique with your texture paste, I wanted to show you how you can take a chippy brush or a pouncer. You can use this idea even with a sponge, and it helps create a little bit more of that texture on your piece. Just apply whatever you've mixed, your calcium carbonate, your spackling, whatever, on your brush or your sponge, and tappity tap 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 all over this piece. It's going to just enhance the appearance. Once your piece dries, you can go ahead and seal over it. I have absolutely used Rust-Oleum's Clear Matte as a spray paint to seal over it. I have absolutely used Dixie Belle's Satin. I have absolutely used just regular good old Mod Podge. It just depends on what I'm going to be using the piece for. Add your accents in if you're doing little pieces like this, and then you're all done. If you're looking for more upcycling inspiration, check out this video right here. As always, people, thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today, and until next time, bye!